Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of Third Man In. I am Mike Hickey, joined by...
It's me. Oh, no, he threw the point the other way.
Well, I realized I always do that, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's do it.
Me.
Yeah.
Flip the protractor a bit. Okay,
Let's do it.
It's TR. It's Terry Ryan. I'm right here with you. I'll take what's behind door number 2 for $500, please, Alex.
I got burned at the blue line.
Little bit there.
I got burned on the blue line. It's me. It's Charles. Woo.
I know,
Boy.
and I'm sorry for messing that one up.
That was a deke.
It was. I completely burned you. If I went top cheese on that backhand, oh man. But I can't do that, so it's fine. I mean, TR knows. You're
the kind of player that would dump it in the corner after a deke. You just dump it in, get it deep, pucks in deep.
No, I would deke, like I would. The one time I was could ever successfully deke a goalie, I'd probably just do a drop pass to the guy trailing and give it up to the D.
I didn't mean deke a goalie. I meant if you tried to pull that on the blue line going in.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I just lose it.
Make it to the net.
I didn't make it to the net. That's
yes.
That's a little rough. But that's tough. But here,
I got you back. See?
You did.
I got you back.
That's for telling you not to roll your fucking eyes at me. Here at Third Man In, we are brought to you by Head Check Health. So let's take a quick minute and listen to a couple words read by TR, who's in the room looking at me. Well, he wasn't. He was looking at his notes. But he's in the room, and we're going to listen to a pre-recorded version of TR talk to you about Head Check Health.
Concussions are serious business. Concussions and post-concussion syndrome had a huge effect on my career. Whether you're a player, a concerned parent, a coach, a risk manager, or an executive, they're a major area of concern. Head Check Health has developed software and services that improve the way concussions are assessed, tracked, and managed at all levels of sport. Their goal is to create a safer environment of play by giving better tools to the individuals responsible for documenting and assessing concussions and providing better data to administrators to make real health and safety improvements. Head Check currently works with organizations across the country like the Canadian Junior Hockey League, BC Hockey, Rugby Ontario, the Western Lacrosse Association, and more to advance their concussion management practices. If you're interested in learning more how HeadCheck can help your team or organization, please visit headcheckhealth.com or email info@headcheckhealth.com. That's headcheckhealth.com or info@headcheckhealth.com and tell them TR sent you.
All right. So now that we have that out of the way, how's everybody doing? How's everyone good?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're all set? Yeah.
I'm free. I'm free as a bird.
Yeah, well, you're back on the booze and everything now too. So I mean, that's we did a whole chunk of the show where Chuck had abstained from drinking for 40 days.
46, whatever the new age Lent is. I did. Lent. Yeah, my grandma always used to. She'd always give up cards for Lent, even in her very old age. She would always have a grasp on those dates, and her last year, kind of around, I fucked the dates up. And I gave up coffee then, and I had the dates fucked up, and I drank a coffee 2 days earlier, and boy, she didn't like it.
Well,
And I said, well, next year I'll get it right. And it took me a while. That was 4 or 5 years ago, but I got it right this year.
Well, that's good. That's nice.
Doing it for Nan.
Oh, that's some sweet. And you know what we're gonna do actually is on this one, since we got TR back here today, we didn't have him last week, and so we had Chuck just rant a bit. What we're gonna do is get one of TR's buddies. That he actually just played last weekend. It's why he wasn't here last week, is because he was playing up in Edmonton with our guest this week. And do you want to let everyone know who it is?
Sure, yeah. So it's a buddy of mine, Terran Sandwith. He's the only other guy I know, at least friend, that has exactly 8 games played in the NHL. Good fella. Played in Tri-City a little bit before me. So Terran was a legend. one of those guys, you knew who he was. First of all, he'd been drafted in the NHL in the second round by the Philadelphia Flyers, I believe. But, so everything I heard about, I was coming in as a 15-year-old when Sandman was leaving as a 20-year-old. So then by the time I got to the St. John's Maple Leafs in my third year pro, Terran had already played about 7 years pro by that point, and I got to meet one of the guys I'd heard so much about. And he ended up being a great guy and a friend to this day of myself and our last guest, Terry Ryan Sr. Often days I would be on the road and Terran would call just to talk to my old man.
I can see why.
Have a beer on the phone.
I can see why. Yeah,
they're just good guys, they're good guys. He's a good guy. And yeah, I mean, you can imagine, right? They like to talk. They have great stories, so they're buddies. And Sandman's good to me. He lives in Toronto. He has a company in Edmonton. He goes back and forth between Toronto and Edmonton. I guess you'd say 60-40 maybe, because his family stays in Toronto for the most part. He's got 2 lovely daughters. And his wife, Wendy, is a really good friend of mine as well. They came over here together. Sandman got married the year that I met him in St. John's. We all became friends. And he's good to me. He gets me out to these NHL alumni events. So last weekend, I was at an alumni event in Edmonton. It was the Alzheimer's face-off. And we raised money for Alzheimer's. But, the NHL do a big do. They take you in and they fly in and they take care of you. And all your accommodations and all that. And really, I go out there. On my team, for example, was Jason Smith, who was the captain of the Oilers, and he played on the Leafs for a long time. He's got 1,000 games in the NHL. And Mark Napier, who a little bit before that, I don't know, Mark has a lot of games, though, probably around 1,000. And, so they were the other NHL guys on my team. A lot of guys I hadn't seen since junior, Jason Strudwick, Todd Simpson. There's just a lot of names there. Rob Brown, you see the hands he's still got. There's people joke.
Robbie Brown.
What hands?
49 goals. Rob
49,
Brown.
and I look back, he had 76 in junior. I didn't. We're gonna have him on this show, by the way. He agreed to come on.
No way.
Well, he does the same thing. He's a hockey commentator out there.
Yep.
I know he has his own show. I didn't realize that until I met him. But anyway, little things like that. So I get to mingle, and everything helps there, from selling books to the podcast to just everybody wins. I mean. It's not just a business thing or self-promotion. It's, meeting hockey guys that you got to play with and against, and, it's a big family, and you raise money. So our team that Sandman got me on, we raised the most money. We raised $1 million.
That's crazy.
Team,
Congratulations. That's incredible.
Yeah. So there's like 18 teams in the tournament. So anyway, we were called the Select Few, and it was just a bunch of real good guys. And actually, I'll let Sandman say the rest. That's just who he is. He's a great friend of mine, and we remain friends this day. And, like many other people, we're going to call, this guy's got great stories. Go ahead.
All right. Well, we're going to take a second to get Sandman on the phone, and then we'll be right back while we sip on some nice, cold Miller Lights.
I'm going to give you guys the
let's
inside track on this.
What's that now?
Okay, so I don't know, anyone who's listening.
I was working on a whole segue thing. I had the button ready to go, and
But
we got a guy waiting to get on the phone with us, Chuck.
He's literally stepping out of what he's doing.
Okay, all right.
So we're gonna.
His message was, yes, call me at 5:45, which was 7 minutes ago.
Okay,
I will step out of what I'm doing.
I'll leave. It's a Hershey thing. I'll leave Hershey out of this.
I didn't really tell you guys that, though. So it's
all right. All right. So here we go. We're gonna take a quick second to get him on the phone while we hear from our nice sponsors over at Miller Lite.
Here's a few things to know when opening an ice cold Miller Lite. They brew their beer to 90 calories and 3 grams of carbs per 355 milliliter serving. And they also brew for great taste. It's this great Pilsner taste that's made Miller Lite a favorite for our beer drinkers everywhere. Miller Lite, 90 calories, 3 grams of carbs. It's Miller time. Sandman, good to have you, my friend. It's been a long time. What have you been up to since the last time I saw you about 16 hours ago?
I've just been recovering from my time with Terry.
Hey,
that's really all I've been doing.
First of all, I got to thank you for that. I told the boys, I'm a guy that's on the periphery, with 8 NHL games, but who else would know more about that than my fucking equal in that category? So, my buddy Terran Sandwith. But, we go to these events, guys, and, you go and the whole point is that a team drafts you, and you go to the team, and you have... party is one thing. You're not quite clubbing it. You're in the room for most of the time having beers, telling stories. So I was lucky enough to tell stories to Jason Smith and Mark Napier, amongst more. Jason Strudwick, Todd Simpson, I mentioned earlier. And they come and you Dana Merzen. I can go down the list. There was about 30 NHL or alumni there. But Sandman gets me involved, and I'm a little bit different because I got the book. I can do some public speaking. I do some acting. So there are people in pockets of Canada, ball hockey. So in Edmonton, for example, the Ball Hockey World Championship goes a long way because a lot of people play ball hockey. When I go to Portage La Prairie, Manitoba for Aaron Esham's golf tournament, not so much, right? It's just in certain pockets. So Sandman gets me into these areas, and he really tugs at the strings of the NHL alumni to invite me out. In other words, this guy's relevant. You got to get him fucking out to this tournament.
I'm going to go ahead, and we have to call this episode the Crazy Eights. We need to.
Okay.
I'm just saying it right now.
No, you're right. The Crazy Eights. I like
absolutely.
Sam,
well, it's funny because it's kind of
do from now on. That's going to be our band name. The Crazy Eights.
That is unbelievable. We could leverage the hell out of that. I love it.
Hey man, you can't take one without the other.
Hey, there's
Crazy
a T-shirt.
Eights.
There's a T-shirt, Mike.
Exactly.
I got it. I'm on it, boys.
I love it.
Sam,
well, I mean,
go ahead.
what's that?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I mean, we have very similar. Well, we've got different paths to get those 8 games, but after retiring, I know that we feel very similar about how you kind of feel like an imposter, like you're an NHL alumni, because you and I both were kind of like one way or another a little bit like rated first round, second round, like kind of blue chip, whatever, quote unquote prospects at some point.
Yeah.
So when you don't play 1,000 games and win 5 Stanley Cups, which that's what you were thinking when you were a kid, you're a failure, right? I mean, you really actually take it, versus a guy that wasn't supposed to make it. He plays one game.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a different feeling, right?
That's true, Sam.
And so, so I, for a long time, when I was got done retired, I didn't want to do absolutely anything, nothing to do with the alumni, because I didn't feel like part of the alumni. But slowly, the lucky thing that I had going for me is I lived in Edmonton. I'm from Edmonton. I played my 8 games for the Oilers, right? So I had a lot of connections, like friends, family in Edmonton, a lot of support there. I started a business thereafter, and then slowly, you go to an event here, go to an event there, and it actually was through that Alzheimer's Pro-Am tournament. I started sponsoring it as a business owner before I got involved as far as the alumni. It was kind of the first step, and I started seeing guys there. Right, I'd see you see Strud up there, you'd see ex-Oiler guys like I played with Chimera and I played with Pisani, and I play. You start seeing those guys there, and you're like. It's like, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter how many games you played in the NHL, obviously, for those guys especially. And then slowly built from there. And then Barry Stafford became head of the alumni recently. And so just kind of taking it to the next level. So now I'm doing alumni stuff. I have, you were joking, and I have a full set of Oiler gear.
Like, he looks like, honestly, he looks like more an Oiler than the Oilers. You got to see this. From the fucking bag, to the socks, to the pants, to the gloves, to the helmet, every single thing.
Now, here's the question I got, though. Is it Oilers gear from, because you played with the Oilers in 97, 98, right? And that's when they had shifted to, the dark blue with, the kind of gold with the red, right?
Copper.
Yeah.
No, that's what you'd expect. No, he's got all the fucking new shit.
The current shit.
The
he
new
looks
shit.
good for 47. So he's
when I left the Oilers...
Yeah.
When I left the Oilers in 97, 98, I got a garbage bag with my shin pads and my skates.
To be fair, they give the GMs the same thing when they leave.
I didn't get the gold.
You got to be kidding me, Sam, man. What'd they give you?
Buddy, I walked out of most of I think actually the Leafs, like the baby Leafs, were the only organization when I left, you go your contract's up. Literally the only team that ever gave me an actual bag. I left with
that's that
a
Newfoundland
garbage
hospitality
bag.
for you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Oddly enough, I've heard more than one person say that. Now, look, Sam, man, I know we're going to go back and we're going to go a little bit chronologically, but I want to know, you're in Edmonton and you took advantage of the alumni stuff you told me, and but you a little bit more. Like, one thing we have in common, and we have 30 things in common, but one of them is also our 8 games aren't with teams that don't have a history of winning. So when I go into the alumni room in Montreal, it's all these fucking legends, you know what I mean? Like Gilbert Dion is the low guy on the totem pole with a Stanley Cup and 400 games with the Habs. There's nobody or someone. I can't even think of another person remotely close. And you're in Edmonton, and you're surrounded by the alumni. But what I'm getting at here is what I didn't do, which I wish I did, but I didn't go say, I don't know, Rocket Richard when he died, or I'm just trying to think of the times that people would all go back. But when Rexall Place raised its head, there was a big ceremony at Edmonton for all of the Oilers that had played in their history. Tell us about that, Sam, man, because you went and you took advantage of it like you were 99, didn't you? Didn't you?
Yeah, well, 100%. Well, actually, to back up, that is how everybody felt that didn't win 5 Stanley Cups in the 80s. You know what I mean? You Wayne Gretzky, all the guys, you were nobody, so you didn't even try to be an alumni or think you were really an alumni. But the first step the Oilers made, kind of to sort of remedy that, was that last game of Rexall Place. And they sent out an email to everybody that they knew, that they had contact information for. They said, if you played one game for the Edmonton Oilers, you are welcome to this ceremony. You're going to get treated exactly like everybody else. And if you know contact information for anybody else, do it. So I literally went on HockeyDB I went to Wikipedia and downloaded the list of every single Oiler that ever played. And then I just all the guys that I knew that I played with, like in Hamilton, the Bulldogs, and the Miners, all those guys that played one game, anybody I played with, I just made sure if I could find their I like try to research them, whatever. So I emailed a whole bunch of guys that I had talked to in 25 years, because I wanted to get everybody. I wanted to kind of be a reunion for the time that I played with the organization, not just in Edmonton, but in Hamilton. And so we got a few of the guys out there, like guys I hadn't seen in 25 years. And yeah, like some of them only played one game or two games. And yeah, they had every one of us walked out on the ice. They had a big, video thing, of a picture of us, introduced us to the whole crowd. And it was unbelievable. It was a great weekend. They did a great job. And that was kind of the beginning where the Oilers kind of started changing their attitude as far as the alumni goes. And there's a lot of value guys can add, like that have only played a few games because they've gone on and done other things, and help, alumni when they retire, transition to life after hockey.
Well, go ahead.
I remember watching that, actually. I remember watching all of them coming out on the ice, and it was, I just remember seeing that broadcast, and I always thought, wow, like, there's a story in there, and they never really paid much attention to it on the Hockey Night in Canada and all that stuff, but there's a story there, and I was wondering how many people, like, where are their lives now, the guys, the one gamers, the 8 gamers, like, what do they do now that they're away from hockey?
Yeah.
Because as you had mentioned, there was just absolutely everybody that had ever laced them up, and it's really cool that they went that far for that, because Oilers alumni, you kind of only think of Wayne Gretzky and you think of Mark Messier and then their supporting cast, and it's been that way for a very long time.
Sandman, and the other thing, Sandman, is that it makes it feel more like a family. You know what I mean? Like when I was in Montreal, although I got to be honest, it did feel like a 50-man family, because we wore those, I often say it, the minor league team should wear the same jerseys as the NHL team.
Bingo.
They really made us feel like one of the Canadians. And I had that defeatist attitude leaving Sandman. I also left on bad terms with some people.
Yeah.
But when I went back, and Reggie Uhl was the GM when I was there. And I never really had a problem with him. I thought he maybe could have played me more, but whatever. Those are people's opinions. Most of my fallout happened with Michel Therrien. I just didn't like him. But, I felt inferior. And geez, I went back and they opened their doors with open arms. They, here you can use the Alumni, get 4 tickets a year. Just really run well, and it made me feel relevant within the organization. I think that was a little bit missing in my, because we did make the NHL, like you said, we made the fucking show. It's just from what perspective, and you were actually, that's where we're going to start, Sandman. So where we're going to continue. Tri-City, you say we were prospects. Now you were in there before me. You were rated in the first round, right? And you end up going, I think, in the second. First of all, yeah. Tri-City's the experience, and how did you feel as a prospect in that year? And what swayed it? Where'd you end up going, Sandman? Second round, right, Philly?
Yeah, 42nd overall to Philly, second round. Last pick in the first round because I was 21 teams at the time.
Okay.
And, I came up. I was actually, when I was younger, I wanted to go to the U.S. college route. Like, I was really good in school. And so I was a big meathead when I was really young. I was literally like 12, 13 years old. I was 6'4". And so I went and played junior B hockey when I was 13 or 14 years old, played junior B hockey. And then I went to the Hobima Hawks, the Alberta Junior League, which was another unbelievable, weird and crazy experience. So I played there for a guy named Gary Braun, who went to coach in Spokane after. And I played there 14, 15, so I was going to play 16, 17. I was already getting, on the QT, these scholarship offers from schools all over the place. I had one in my filing cabinet from Harvard, like, believe it or not. I'm looking back now, I'm like, come on, because I had a really good straight A's and whatever, right? So
we got that in common, by the way, too. I got one from Harvard. Just so you know.
Yeah, well, there was.
I didn't know that.
Well, back in the day, though, Sandman is talking about being a super pro. I didn't realize, Sandman, you were that super of a prospect. Fucking 13. I thought I was the youngest guy I knew that played junior at 14. And you played 13, 14, 15. You got 3 years in of junior before the Western League even starts. So that's the reason.
Yeah.
I say I got a Harvard letter. I'm sure they just looked at the top prospects and sent it to me. Like, I'm not saying that I talked to them. I got a letter from them.
Yeah, exactly. I don't exactly. I don't know how it worked, but I just remember having this. My dad actually kept these filing cabinets, and I just saw it like a couple of years ago. I'm like, holy cow! I didn't even.
So
remember
that was tempting to you then. What made you go dub?
Well, what happened was that Gary Braun left, and he went to Spokane, actually, coached Spokane halfway through my 16-year-old year, and it was a bit of a chaos there, and I'll be in a long story, but then Tri-Cities offered me these, these scholarship offers, right, where they say, well, I'll give you whatever, $40,000 in scholarship money.
Exactly, Sam, man, same thing to me.
Yeah,
I think it was 48, but anyway, who kept
on
as you speak, we
way to one-up me. One-up me on that one, but whatever.
That's inflation. That's just a couple years.
That's a couple of years. Yeah, it's the market value.
I can't remember I don't know how they did it, guys, but that was it. I told them I was going to go to college, jumping in on Sam Mann's interview, but my dad had more to do with it. He was talking to them, and he said, okay, so I got you this. And if I played one game, most people, it's 1 year per season. But whatever, when you go to Tri-Cities at that time, I don't even know if it was shady.
Yeah.
It was, they were going to pay for way more schooling than everybody else. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, but actually, like the sidebar, I just heard your dad's story, senior story about him going to school, and I didn't even talk to him about that. That's so cool and parallel to what I, did and wanted to do, right? So anyway, sidebar, but so I go down to Tri-Cities, and of course, right, like your parents don't know anything about what your dad had a little bit of insight, but my family didn't have any insight to pro hockey. They had the stars in their eyes and stuff, and I didn't know anything. I'm a kid. And it's like, you don't realize, like, okay, they gave a scholarship, but as soon as you sign any pro contract, like if you sign for $500 a week in the East Coast League, it's all gone.
It's over.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just like,
and that by you mean it's all gone. That eliminates your eligibility for the NCAA at that point.
Yep.
That's it.
Well, not only that, but that scholarship that you got, that money that Tri-Cities promised you is all gone because you turned pro. You're a professional athlete.
I just want to pause for 1 sec, Sam, man. Guys, that's why people go to Canadian University.
Yeah.
So, see, I got a buddy, Marcus Power, he's playing on the Growlers. He's one of the top scorers with Zach O'Brien. Well, him and Zach played midget together.
Yeah.
Zach took the chance to go pro. Good thing. He got a great career cut out. He played 4 years in the A. He got a Calder Cup. Marcus, not really sure. I don't want to forfeit my school money to go down to the East Coast League when I don't have a guaranteed contract.
Yeah.
Worked out for Zach. Marcus went to UPEI for 4 years, lit it up. Now they meet in pro, but that's what the thing. So the quality players that you see in the CIAU or the CIS, they're there because they had a choice. They could have gone pro, but you feel like you got a gun to your head. Well, I don't want.
And that's
right.
one thing I always find fascinating, especially I know the rules are what they are, and people, the passerby would never know how staunch that is. But I mean, how many kids? One, you're so young making that decision, so young, and how many kids have university backgrounds on posters on their wall of university fellas in university jerseys. I mean, when the offer's there, the junior route to me always looks more enticing for a fella who can hardly tie up a pair of skates. But
but Simmons, what you're saying, I guess that you didn't know. I certainly didn't know. Like when you get there, you figure out when I play a game, I'm fucked. Right now.
Well, you don't learn till later.
Yeah.
And tell me one other sport like that, major sport, that you have to make those decisions at such a young age that really super affects you. You're going to go to NCAA. You play a game in Western League, you're done.
That's the other
it's
side,
crazy.
Guys. The NCAA too. Explain that, Sam, man, because that's the same fucking thing. I'm only talking about eligibility now in pro and Canadian University, but there's also a rule. Go ahead, Sam, man. It's college, right?
Yeah, well, and I know it's changed. I mean, but it was
it's
at our time. It was older. It's become a little bit more lenient. But at our time, literally, was if you played one game. I think it was even exhibition game.
Yeah,
the Western Hockey League.
Jason Hedges, Grant Kenny, two of them. One exhibition game with Drummondville, no college scholarship. But anyway, so you're coming in, Sam Man. But the other thing is that when you're a super prospect like Sam Man and I, it's a harder decision for someone that comes in and scrapes by. They might get drafted. They might do well. I think there's a couple of guys in on the Leafs even. Hyman, no, not Hyman. He's from Toronto. There's a guy
Hyman
played
did go. He did go the university route. I do.
Yeah,
believe.
no, but there's a guy that on there that played as a 20-year-old in the BCJHL. I can't remember who it is. I'll figure it out after this. But he certainly didn't think that he was going to make the NHL. If you're playing junior A at 20, right? But so it's a crapshoot when you're that young. But Sam, man. So you're coming into Tri-City then. It could continue. I just wanted to make that clear because a lot of people listen that are not necessarily huge hockey fans. So go ahead.
No. Oh, you mean they don't know who the hell I am? That's a shocker.
I guess I think a lot of people listening from like the arts and entertainment industry, and they like the interviews and everything. But when I say like a kid picks CIS over the dub, they have no fucking clue what I'm talking about.
I'm telling you, boys. After this branding of Crazy Eights, it's gonna blow up.
Yeah, you're right.
Get busy.
Well, I get it. The intricacies and stuff that go on, and I mean, we're dinosaurs now, and the things have changed now. My buddy I played with, Terry Virtue, his son is now playing the Q now, and he's telling me how things have changed. I'm like, holy cow! Like it's a different world already now. But so I go to Tri-Cities, finish my 16-year-old year up, 17 was my draft year. I'm rated in the first round. Getting in, I'm same as you. You tell your stories. You have better stories about me about getting interviewed by NHL teams, but
I know that one. Yeah, we'll go there. But, I'm sure you got some good ones, but I'll go there at some point on this show.
But I actually have a kind of a good one of the Rangers, but not as good as yours. But
let's hear it. I gotta hear it now.
Okay, well, I'll tell you. Yeah, so anyway, I end up getting drafted in the second round of Philly. I actually broke my wrist. I wore a cast halfway through my draft year.
But now, Sam, man, there. So you wore a cast. Did you ever think about maybe taking the rest of the year off, or did you feel that helped you by wearing the fucking cast and playing with half of an arm?
Well, I mean, I don't know. At the time, you don't even think about it. Like, I mean, if you can actually, like, it was on my lower hand. I was kind of a stay-at-home defenseman, like as long as I could chip the puck out and chip it in, like at that time it was like that was kind of the way it was. It was just a big, stay-at-home defenseman, hit guys, and obviously I couldn't fight the last half of the year. Not that I was, did a whole bunch of that, but
just mauling people with a cast.
Well, no, but
exactly.
When you were that size, though, at that time, if you were that size, they would have assumed. Yeah, you got to at least go in, especially if you're a D-man, you got to clear the front of the net, and that's going to mean dropping the gloves. They would expect 5 to 10 a year minimum. I know that sounds fucking nuts, boys, but that was the time, and some people embraced 100%. It. Sam, man, you were a big guy that you weren't necessarily afraid of anybody, but you were too good to be fighting all the time, or you would have been up on right wing or something.
Well, I'll tell you okay, I'm going to go on a total sidebar. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I get up in my 16-year-old year. Get this one. I go up. I start fighting guys. Well, I'm starting to fight guys in junior, but again, they kind of push you towards that because you're a big guy.
Yeah.
Defenseman. I was a skilled kid coming up. Like I was an offensive defenseman coming up, and then as soon as they get you in junior, they just start at that time. They just start grooming you, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to be a good team guy, you got to do this stuff.
If you're that big, you got to fight.
Right. Yeah. So I start fighting guys in junior a couple of times, and I'm a big guy, so I didn't get hurt. I did well, and I get up in Tri-Cities, so now I start fighting guys, and I do pretty well. Like my first year in Tri-Cities, and I'm 16-year-old. On my 17-year-old year, now I got a little bit more confidence. So I fought like quite a bit right at the start of the year, and then again I was too young and dumb and naive. One game they put me up on right wing to start the game.
Lucky guess.
Right? So do I even look at the roster? Do I even see the pins? Who am I playing against? No, I'm just looking at putting me in starting lineup. I'm gonna, I'm gonna just run somebody. It's gonna be unbelievable, right?
Okay.
So I go, puck gets dumped in the corner. I go and I run the hell out of this guy. He's a little guy, ugly looking fella. And so I start skating up the ice, and I start chirping him. And he's a guy's probably 5'10" max, maybe 5'9", right? I'm playing against Brandon.
Okay.
And so let's go. So by this time we're skating up there, we're center ice. And I get the video of it somewhere. I grab this guy, and I am just giving it to him. I'm feeding it to him for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Going around in circles, pounding. And this guy, I look at the video after, I'm like, this guy is not really rattled at all. He's kind of just biding his time. He's sort of kind of getting his position, his hand position. And all of a sudden, he just comes back and throws one haymaker right in the nose. I've never been hit in the nose.
Can I guess who it is?
Square in the nose. Jesus. Jeff Odgers. How are you doing?
Oh, wow. You know who I thought it was?
At first, I'm thinking Domi.
Sidebar, was Rob Tremblay in the league when you were there?
He was a little bit younger than me, but I played with Rob. Yeah,
he could throw those one punch, but Odgers, oh my fuck, Sam, man. So I was playing one game. One of the only, I think it was in Boston. It was in Boston Garden. Yes, it was. If you Google Chris Murray versus Jeff Odgers, you'll see it. So I was on the ice with Murr, and I don't know either, but I'm like, if Murray's out here and they're telling me this guy Odgers is tough, but I'd heard of him, but I didn't realize, Sam, man, because he's not big. He reminds me of Aaron Asham. I think he might even be a bit shorter. But oh my God, does he have a punch?
He's listed at 6 foot, and the year that
he wasn't 6 foot.
Yeah, Terran just said he was fucking 5'10", but he's listed at 6 foot. But the year that I would guess that fight would have been 88, 89. Odgers put up 277 pimps.
Yeah. Did I have a look? Did I check out the stats before? No, but I tell you what, I checked the damn stats out every game after that.
That's with no 5s. Oh, no 10s. Sorry, not no 5s. No 10-minute misconducts. It's always.
And he had 202 the year before, and his rookie year because he did 4 years in the W, in the dub, and his rookie year, which I guess he would have been, like 15 or whatever, he put up 150.
16, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but Sam, man, the other thing is...
Sooner fight than eat.
The other thing is, Sam, man, like, he's a polished guy who loves fighting. You ever notice, like, sometimes you play against guys and they're just like, like I remember Johnny Erskine. I was in Dallas camp, and it was like no fucking around. Like, sometimes you ask a guy to fight. Okay, Jody Shelley, for example, real tough. He would come at me, T-Bone, I need a fight maybe. And, you're doing it and you're not really trying to hurt the guy's orbital bone. Like, you're not really trying to fucking... But some guys love fighting. And
why did I imagine John Erskine was always like that?
The first time I asked
him,
that? I went to camp, guys, and I said, I poked him. I was in Dallas now, free agent. I didn't know what was going on. I came back in the summer. I got in great shape. I went down to camp, and this was the camp I busted my ankle, but this was before that happened. So I said, I'm going to go after fucking everybody and anybody. And that just gets in your head. This was still the end of that era, though. This was 2000, right? So the end of that era. And fucking grabbed, and I went over to John Erskine, I poked him, and I said, do you want to go? And he had the goalie cut sleeves on. You remember Sam, man, where like the tough guys would have goalie cut sleeves, so they'd kind of rip away. And he'd like he Vaseline on his face, and he just said, "Fuck, I'd love to." And I said, and he grabbed me, and whoo, and I'm not kidding you. Anybody that was at Dallas Stars camp in 2001, that was at Dallas Stars. Weird, oddly enough. So, and I fight him, Sam, man. I know I fought him 4 times that one game because you can't get thrown up 4 times, one game. 2 more times the rest of the camp. Anybody, the Newfoundlander that was there was Dale Sullivan. He was at that fucking camp. And Sam, man, and then I go back. It was so weird. He was my roommate. And then when camp got cut down a little tiny bit, the first cuts, because I only made it to the second, but I had to stay there for 2 weeks because it was September 11th. So he's my roommate. I come back into camp, and he's sitting on the bed. He goes, "Look what just happened." It was a really odd moment. I can't even explain the humanity of it all. Like, here we are out fucking knuckling, sandwiching each other to the point of hate, right? And then come back in a room. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but you get what I mean.
I can't imagine.
That's what happens with all the guys. I mean, you talked about your story with Barnaby in the weekend about how you guys became friends through fighting. Well, I had a story with Brant Myers.
Oh, yeah.
I fought the guy so many times in junior.
Jesus, did you?
Oh, God, I probably fought him. I fought him probably.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, he was the same. He's the same guy. He was like us. He's like, he had to fight. He was kind of groomed to fight, and he was a lefty. He was tough, but he wasn't going out there to break the guy's orbital bone, right? Like, he knew, he had a job to do, and he wanted to go fight, right? He actually was a pretty kind soul, actually, because he's from Edmonton, so I, see him in the summertime in the bar or whatever, and the funny thing is, I know that I'm going to have a tangent with Brant Myers, but he went into the substance abuse program, and now he's working for LA. He was working for the LA Kings on that. But I never saw Brant like that. Like, never. I was at the bar with him many, many times. I never saw this. He was just a really, really nice guy. So I don't know what happened on the other times when I wasn't there or whatever. But I remember fighting him in Atlanta. I was in Kansas City, and I just got loaned out there. And I said, Brant, and I've already fought the guy like 10 times in junior. I said, Brant, I really, really need this one. I'm trying to make an impression here. So usually what happened is that it would be a pretty close fight, but he would always beat me because he was a lefty. I just could never, kind of get the better of me. And then we go to the box, and he's like, "Hey man, what are we doing tonight, man?" I said, he goes, "Man, I'm taking you to strippers tonight. We're going out. We're going to party." So I went out with Brant Myers all night. He took the strippers, bought me drinks.
Wow,
it was unbelievable.
Sam, man, that's a great story. And you know what? I was the same way we book our careers bookend Brant Myers is because he was young when you were there, but he was when I came in the Western League, he was bar none the toughest guy. Everybody,
sure.
if there was a second, I'm trying to think. Wade Belak was still there. Rocky Thompson was coming in, but they were more around my age. Myers was 19, and no one wanted to look at him. And sure enough, anyway, shit broke out. I went out. Sam, man, I'll tell this. So Jerry Johansson was our GM at the time. Do you know Jerry in Edmonton? Right?
Jerry is my assistant coach. My first year at Tri-Cities, I was 16.
Okay. Yes. So I didn't realize that he was there that long. So Jerry, and he was part of the reason I went to Tri-City, and he's a good fella, and he just came in the room, and he just said, boys, he flipped out. Like, Spokane are out there embarrassing us. Someone do fucking something. Like, I still remember top 10 speeches, and I love the speech, by the way, too, but he was great, and I knew that I was 16, and I was one of the guys who, like, gave a shit, and, like, so I was one of the few that he wasn't talking to. Like, there might have been maybe 4 or 5 of us, and when you get that feeling in the room, you're like, oh, fucking rights. Like, so I was pumped, and I said, I'm going to go out and solidify my status. I said, I'm going out. Sam, and I taped up my hands. I put Vaseline on my face. I fucking went, I did all the tough guy moves. And I got out and I went down. And the goalie, David Lemanowicz, I believe was his name for Spokane. And I shot the puck in his pads and he saved it. And then he pounced on it. And I came in and I rooted him, and I would have been suspended. I took my stick like an axe. I never went to hurt him because I didn't do it hard, but I just wanted to put the place up, and I axed him over the top of the head.
What the fuck?
Not hard though. I swear, you had to see the way it was done. I think I might even have it. Like, I poked, and then I kind of whacked. And anyway, the point was that I was going to fight Brant Myers in front of Jerry Johansson, and everybody else thought I had balls.
So you needed to do a wrestling taunt before?
Brant Myers grabbed Ryan Marsh. You know Ryan, right, Sam? Man?
Yeah.
So he grabs Marshy because Marshy's it's a melee then, right? You know who I got paired up with? Valerie Bure. I got paired up with Valerie fucking Bure.
Wow.
And his fucking Ryan Marsh got taken out to center ice and got given his fucking breakfast, lunch, and tomorrow's fucking dinner. What? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, getting back to your story as you're the interview, but I can't even. It's hard for me to tell stories because I'm never a guest, so I got to work with other people.
And listen, I know this.
You're getting me wrong.
We just go off on tangents. You and I go off on tangents.
Yeah,
I know you do. I know you do that.
We certainly do. But now I want to know when you went to Philly, Sam, man, and you're at camp. Tell me, did anything happen in front of the net with any players?
Oh my God! So,
boys,
first training camp, I get drafted. Philly had it was when Russ Farwell was first year's GM, and I think they had literally 8 picks in the first 3 rounds, something crazy, like a whole bunch of the first 5 rounds. So we got it was Recchi, I think, 4th overall. Then there was myself in the 2nd round. I'm trying to get. There's another guy, the Swedish guy, was on the big line there with Forsberg, and then with Recchi, I think later. No, not Hayduk. I'd have to look it up. I can't remember, but Dan Kordick got drafted. There, Kimby Daniels, like a lot of Western guys.
Yeah, okay.
And
Jason
the one guy was Chris Simon was in the 2nd round as well.
Yeah.
And so. We're
Simon. Okay, yeah. I forgot exactly who it was. Chris Simon. Oh, God.
Chris Simon, one of the toughest guys who's ever played the game.
Yeah. And craziest.
And crazy. Yeah,
craziest. That's the key.
Full on crazy. So, but we're in Vancouver. We get drafted in Vancouver. We go and we party that night, and then we go to Philly flies us out for a little orientation camp and something like that. So I'm hanging out with the guy quite a bit, and we kind of become friends, quote unquote, whatever. You get to know each other, teammates. So all is good. Get in, and I know how crazy this guy is. You just have to look at him, guys get screw loose. And so we're first scrimmage. I'm not shitting you. First scrimmage, I'm in front of the net, and he's in front of the net, and it's my job to get him out of the front of the net, but I gotta do it gently. I don't want to, I don't get too upset, right? So I'm literally I'm cross checking, but I'm not crossing him hard. But kind of pushing him out of the front of the net. He steps back, and I'm not telling you, he's facing away from me. He turns around with a full baseball swing, 180 baseball swing right to my throat. And I'm telling you, he did not let up. And I kind of duck enough at the time.
All you did was push him out of the crease.
All I did was push him out, but I promise you. Because I was scared of him already.
He baseball chopped you.
He baseball chopped me right in the neck, on the side of the neck. So, like, I mean, first, you're like, hey, that just never happens in hockey, right? I mean, you're not expecting, that's one move you're not, like, waiting for, So, like, the shock, I go down, and you're like, you're thinking, like, did that just happen? And, like, can I breathe? Can I, like, am I alive? Like, you're going, like,
you're stunned.
And then it kind of changes to go, like, fuck, I got to do something. Like, I can't just lie on the ground. So I get up to go after him to, like, get my ass kicked because I had to do something.
I love how there's no option but getting your ass kicked.
I'm going to say it. I'm lying on the ground. If that happens to me, I'm just lying on the ground.
But then you get sent home or something. Then everybody's going to know you're a pussy. It's fucking brutal, isn't it, so bad?
I don't know.
You just got to, like, I had to get up and try and fight him. So thank God there's a bunch of people in front of me at the time and we couldn't get each other, whatever. So this is how bad it was, because back then, I mean, guys were just, like, training camp was like they would find, like, my first, I don't know, 5 training camps, they would, like, literally have 70 guys in training camp, and 10 of them were, like, just meatheads they would find in, like, some league 3 lowers, like, below the American League. Like, they'd find the biggest meathead just to come in and fight, like, see who the toughest guy was, try and find a tough guy.
A couple of delivery truck drivers that are just built to shit, too, and can skate.
It was crazy where some of these guys would come from. It was unbelievable. So that was the mentality back then. So this is how bad it was, is that, like, Paul Holmgren was there, these old school Philly tough guys were there, and they made Chris Simon come appalled. Like, they were horrified. So they made Chris Simon had to come apologize in person for doing that. I'm just like, yeah, no problem, buddy. Like, so that happened again. Is that's okay with you? Like, I don't know. It was nuts.
I'd be thinking, oh my God, is he going to kick the shit out of me because he had to apologize to me?
Exactly.
Just like,
he was good with me after that.
And but Sam, man, I hate to say it, but guys like that, right? Like, guys like that. Like, that's why I didn't buzz around Bird Dog more, or at least try, because I knew that I might get a slash over the fucking neck. Like,
totally.
Like, so they do get room because of that. You hate it. And you know what? Chris Simon knew what he was doing, because he can do that in camp and scare people. Because I'm not saying that he wouldn't do it in another, but if he does it in an NHL game, like when he fucking kicked the guy, or remember he went to where his skate blade he kicked him. Well, like, you might get a 20-game suspension. But you do that in camp, I can solidify my reputation. I'm nuts. Yes. I'll fight anybody, and I'll chop, and everybody's going to find out that I chopped someone over the fucking head. The first guy who came at me. 100%. Right? So you're
but I don't know. I'd love to find out, but he got traded in the Lidros deal, so I don't know, whether that was something that Quebec wanted him, or whether Philly was going, like, this guy's a little too off the chart.
I can't imagine how him and Ron Hextall, because Hextall was still around then, I can't imagine how they would coexist in the same fucking area code, let alone the same locker room.
Hextall. Then you have to worry about
you got Chris Simon and Ron Hextall in the same fucking dressing room.
Hextall's the only guy, well, maybe Dan Cloutier, he was nuts, but Hextall, like, was talked about as, like, a tough guy. Like, they got blank and Hextall.
Yeah, Cloutier he was more of a showman. He liked to make the grand display of
Cloutier was nuts. He would chop you over the head. And I'm not saying scared, he wouldn't fight. Jesus Christ, no. I just mean, of the crazies, Hextall was probably the most.
He was one of
them. Smith wasn't too bad.
Literally, that was another guy. That was another guy in training camp. Like, you were scared to shoot. You were like on the ice, like, because you did not want to get that puck up on him, because you didn't know what the hell he was going to do.
Wow.
Like, I saw it.
When
like,
that mask comes off and the tongue is going nuts too. Like, oh man, I don't want any part of upsetting that man. Oh boy.
So, and Sam, and so you're in Philly, right? So tell me the situation there. So you go back to Tri-Cities where you play out your junior.
Yeah.
Then you come into pro. How was the first couple of years? What was the biggest adjustment did you find when you went to the AHL? And then take us into, how did the NHL games happen with Edmonton?
Well, oh my gosh, how many hours do you have here?
Philly, but
how many hours? I'll try and keep it real Cole's notes here, because like, lots of stuff happened in my career. Like, my career, I should never play those 8 games, to be honest with you. I was playing. I got drafted by Philly. I come back my 20-year-old year, and I had a pretty good 20-year-old year to start. And then after that year, I believe it was when Russ Farwell got fired and Bobby Clark came back. It may have been the second year, and then Jay Leach became my coach. And Jay Leach was kind of like, "You're my Michelle Tyrion," and like, So I was once again, I was, thought I was having a pretty good, I was moving along in the organization, but as soon as Clarky came back, and Clarky's we all know the stories about Clarky. I mean, he's a hard ass, and I know for sure that, and especially a guy like, it's easy to look back now when you're older. Like, I run my own business. You can understand the mentality of these guys in management. And for sure, he's not wanting some of Russ Farwell's guys, to be successful, right? Or he's not going to help them. You know what I mean? I'm not one.
I know that too, Sam, man. Again, without going to it, guys. Patrick Waugh, I got drafted. Sir Sabar Jacques Demers. 3 months later, Patrick Waugh goes fucking nuts. Points at the bench. They're all gone. Very similar again, Sam, man. I mean, I know we talk a lot, but sometimes we don't focus on the things that really at the core of our hockey career are real similar. So
so that's what happened. Like, I shouldn't say that's what happened. Obviously, there's a combination. You got to play well. You got to be in the right place at the right time and all this other stuff, right?
You seem to do well in Hershey, right? Did you Hershey was Philly's farm team, right?
Yeah, the Hershey Bears was a Philly's farm team at that time. So Jay Leach comes in as a coach down there, and right away he didn't like me. Even like Mo Matthew was the assistant coach who was there the year before, and Mo even told me like he just didn't take a liking for whatever reason. And I guess he thought I should be a certain type of player that I wasn't, or whatever. I don't even know what it is now. So it would be one of those things where I was mostly a defense partner with a guy named Eris Bermanis. I don't know if you know the name or not. He played with Philly.
Yes, I played with him in Edmonton.
Oh, what a great dude.
Yeah,
and
great
so
dude.
Him and I were the shutdown D. And this is what happened, literally. We would be the shutdown D. So we would play against the top line, and we would just go and we'd run them. We'd really good defensively, shut them down. And we'd go like that for 3 or 4 games, and we'd just be doing great. And then I would make one mistake. I would make a mistake at some point in the game, or have a bad first period. Something would happen, and that bugger would sit me for the rest of the game. And then I'd be out for 2 games.
Yeah, you had no
leash. And then a month later, I'd be back, or whatever. 2 weeks later, I'd be back with Eris, shutting down the top line. Right, that was the kind of mental games that went on, and I wasn't mentally tough to handle it, right, and to deal with it. And so by the last year of my entry level contract, at 22 years old, I basically sat the whole first half of the year. I played maybe 3 or 4 games, and they were trying to send me down the East Coast League. I'm like, you know what, screw this. I mean, I don't listen. I'm not going to be arrogant here, but I'm here to make the NHL. I'm not going down the East Coast League. You're not going to screw me over. You guys screw me over this last year. Screw it. And they couldn't send me down because it was a 2-way.
Nice.
So I finally, and I don't even go on the agent side of it. I wasn't getting any support from my agents, but I finally I phoned Bobby Clark, and I never forget this. I phoned Bobby Clark, I'm 22-year-old kid. Now I look back now, I'm so angry. I phone him, and he answers the phone. What do you want? And I'm like, Mr. Clark, listen, I know you guys don't have a spot for me here. You're not whatever. And I'm trying to be as polite as possible. I said, okay, what do you want? Well,
that's
I'm trying to be polite. Yeah, right. And I'm like, you think you could find a place for me to play? Maybe loan me out to the eye somewhere, whatever. And he goes, oh, I don't know, maybe whatever. I'll see what I can do. And he kind of hung up the phone on me, and I'm just almost in tears. I'm almost in tears, right? I'm just oh my God, just so scared. But 3 days later, I got loaned out to Kansas City, right? So I finished my year out there, and I play the whole year. And then I get, then they had a really, really good team. So then I didn't play in the playoffs, and we made it all the way to the Turner Cup finals. We lost to Denver in the finals. So I'm basically in the hotel room, and I'm not going to lie to you, I was just partying the whole playoffs, out every night because I wasn't playing. Terry might be surprised by that, but, so I'm
that's what you did.
I'm partying the whole time. And in the meantime, my buddy, Rob Hartnell, who played Lethbridge.
I know Robbie played in Tri-City with me, and Bentley.
Well, Ray, you did too. Well, Robbie was in Hobima that tied it all together. I lived with his family. They were my billets in Hobima and Wetaskiwin.
Wow.
When I was 16 years old. So that ties that all together.
Does it ever?
So Robbie is sending me, at that time, it was either phone calls or letters, because it was before, cell phones, and was saying that my owner, Jeannie Buss, needs a defenseman, and she went. I told her that I'd get you to come play for roller hockey for us. And again,
when you
once
said
again, maybe I was
Buss,
Yeah.
You mean Jeannie Buss, the president of the Lakers,
She's
right?
the president of the Lakers
the
now,
Los
yeah.
Angeles
And
Lakers,
so
yes.
She owned, so Jerry Buss, her father, owned the Lakers and the Forum and all stuff at the time. Jeannie owned the roller hockey team, and she worked at the Forum. She was VP of something at the Forum. So she, and by the way, she was just in Playboy, just to add a little layer
I
to
remember,
it.
guys, if I've ever told you, pause for a sec, Sam, man, I played one game in Long Beach, and she something to her and her friend Stacy or so, they knew that I played in Montreal, and we had a conversation, and they said, hey, we got tickets to Jay Leno tonight, and they gave us, me and a guy named Robbie Gordon, they gave us tickets, and I was in LA one game, and I went over it, and I went to Jay Leno and saw Nicolas
awesome,
Cage and Natalie Merchant. Anyway, keep going.
No, she's a great lady. She's awesome. So anyway, I'm like, even though I was very intrigued by that Jeannie Buss even being Playboy, I'm like, I don't want to play roller hockey in the summertime. Like I'm actually at this point thinking my career's over, right? Because I wasn't playing the playoffs. My contract's up. Like, what am I going to do? So he keeps insisting. So by the end of the playoffs, so I get this, and I'm not lying to you. I get this, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this story. I don't know, but I get this envelope in the mail, and it's actually the Playboy that Jeannie's in, and it's from Robbie, and it says turn to page 72 and meet your new owner. So
So yeah.
Well,
so what a great recruiter, right? So I basically picked the phone up right after. I said, I'll be there 2 days. So anyway, I go there and go. Gina was awesome.
Was this the Long Beach team you played for?
No, it was LA Blades. And so she became friends to the point where she actually came to my wedding. So she's a great lady. But so then I separated my shoulder during roller hockey. So like again, like at the end of the season, at the end of summer, I'm like my career's basically over. So I'm going to go to the U of A. I'm going to go back to school. That was really my plan. I get this call from the Canadian national team when they used to have a full-time Canadian national team. Tom Rennie was a coach. Mike Johnston was the assistant coach, and for a tryout. So I go to training camp for a tryout. I'm not lying to you, I'm the last guy, like the last cut between me and another guy to make the team. Otherwise, my career was over. I was going back to school.
Really?
I make the team. Oh, I'm not lying to you, man. I'm not lying to you.
Who that last guy was? Do you remember who it was?
Who cares? Fuck him. I don't care who he is. He's done.
I'll point out before you go any further, I always find this funny that here's a guy, now you were a prospect, then you were told, I'm not saying you weren't tough either and there wasn't a spot to fight. I don't think you could play when we played and be half big at all and not fight at all. You couldn't.
Oh, yeah.
But what I'm saying is that I love when these guys find their way in the Canadian national team. There's not much fighting that goes on, and I don't care if you were the last to make it. You're on the Canadian national team because good defensemen play on the Canadian national team. Anyway, keep going.
So for the first time in probably my career, I finally have a mentor coach, a guy that knows how to like push my buttons and get me to work hard, but also to teach me how to play the game, like the skill level, like the skill development. I mean, 2-day training, like stuff that goes on now, but was way ahead of their time. Playing, it was all skill, right? So I spent a whole year working on my fitness and I was a little chunky, according to Tom, so I had to like ride the bike before practice. Then I had to work on my skill, like off the ice, like puck handling, all this stuff, right? So long story short, I get done with the year and I'm playing with Brian Mears and the team who ends up signing with the Oilers.
I played with Mearsy and Hershey as well. Keep going.
Right. And they had Nick Stajduhar as well. Like the Oilers had sent Nick Stajduhar to try and improve his game as well because he had that concussion thing and long story about him. And then, but the key was that Lauren Mulliken was my coach in Saskatoon, and we went to the Western League Finals against Kamloops. And I had a really, really good year with him. That was my 19-year-old year. I was last year junior. Yeah. And he loved me. And so he was the one that was a catalyst to get me signed with the Oilers. And Scott Housen was up with him as well. He's a GM of Cape Breton at the time.
Jesus, he came to a lot of games too.
Yeah, no, great man. Both of them are great men. But literally, Tom changed my whole career. Like if it wasn't for Tom, I never would have played the 8 games. So I signed with the Oilers.
There's a T-shirt right there.
Me and Mearsy and Staj go down to Cape Breton for the last 8 games of the year before they didn't make the playoffs. But just like my game, like I was like twice as good as I was when I left Hershey. Like it was I couldn't believe it, like how fast I was, like my puck handling ability, like my,
Wow.
it was unbelievable the change in my game, right? So then I go to, I told you it was going to take an hour, guys, but you got to hear the whole thing.
No, I like it.
Dialed
It's
in.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then the next year I go to Oilers camp. I'm not shitting you. I'm going to make the team. I can't remember the other guy that I was competing against. Well, I shouldn't say I was going to make the team, but him and I were competing against for the last spot. I break the same goddamn bone in my fucking wrist that I broke in junior, my draft year. I'm not shitting you.
Wow.
The scaphoid bone. The scaphoid bone is in your body. It's one blood vessel. It's the worst bone in your body to break. It takes so long to heal. So I get sent down, and actually I just ran into Glenn Gulletson, assistant coach of the Oilers. I ran into my lunch with him like a month ago.
In Seattle. Or no, that's Glenn Goodall.
Saskatoon. Saskatoon. He's like captain of Saskatoon with Lauren. He was a captain. So Lauren got him to the training camp in Hamilton, and he reminded me that I forgot about this, about how, like, I even forgot about that in the cast. Like, I think I blocked a lot of stuff out after I retired. And so he reminded me. So then he also reminded me. So Lauren comes up to me again. Remember this? I was out of the league. My career was over a year before, essentially. Lauren comes up to me and he goes, "I want you to be the captain of the farm team. I want that Bulldogs." Wow. First captain. He just moved there. I'm like, Lauren, like, and I had a good level. Like, what the fuck? You fucking crazy? Like, I shouldn't be in the league. Like, what are you doing? Like, I've never been captain before. Like, what are you doing? He goes, we need a voice in the room, and you can do this. I know you can do it. So I go from a year before to being the captain of the farm team of Hamilton Bulldogs, an AHL team.
Jesus.
To me, that's almost as good as making the show, right? Like,
had the playoffs work out for you guys that year?
Well, there you go. So we had about 12 first-round picks, and a bunch of them were just a bunch of shitheads. We had Jason Bunn Sr., who I like Jason Bunn Sr. as a person, but a lot of these guys had to learn how to play pro. Like,
Bunn Sr., like I said, he was great off the ice. On the ice, he's rather selfish. Keep going.
He just couldn't figure it out, and a lot of those guys were young guys. So all I did, like, literally, my whole program was I was going to be the hardest working guy on the ice, no matter what. Practices every day, like, no matter what, every day I was going to be the hardest working guy on the ice. I wasn't a skilled guy. And number two, I was going to make sure that we did a lot of off ice stuff together. Like, we'd have parties, like, with the wives and the guys. And like, we did dinners, and I go to Scott Housen and say, "Housen, I need $500 because we're going to go to this restaurant. I get to do some team building and all that kind of stuff." Because that's all I knew how to do. Like, I love to have fun. I like to have fun, right, with the guys. I love being around the guys, having a good time, and I know that builds camaraderie. And so we set a record at that time for the least amount of points to make the playoffs to get to the Calder Cup final. We just went on a run. We just barely squeaked in the playoffs.
And then just something because fuck analytics. Because we're going out, you were taking the boys, you were hanging out. Sorry, I get ahead of myself and ahead of you, but that's what you're saying to me anyway. Keep going, baby.
100%. And that was a little bit to that. We got kind of lucky a little bit. Steve Passmore had this a little bit an injury, like an ear something. He had the balance issues. He'd been away for a while. He came back and he just was unbelievable. And Pass, I don't know if you know the guy, best guy ever to play in front of, because he would be chirping you. He'd be like making jokes. Like, he never got rattled. He was just hilarious.
Wow,
and he could play like he was unbelievable. He was a great guy. So we made it, and we lost. Guess we lost two in the final. You guys already know Hershey. God damn it,
Hershey.
We lost to them.
Bunch of guys you'd played with, but now you know what?
Yeah, a bunch of
guys. That's just icing on the cake for them is that they won, but you showed them though.
Oh, you were their captain,
right? Your captain. You brought these guys to the fucking final. Anyway, I don't need to tell you what you already know. Keep going.
No, it was awesome. So anyway, obviously my confidence level had just taken a huge boost. I had a good year. And then the next year, so my next year is when I played the games of the show. So I'll get to that. So what happened is that I'm having a hell of a year. I had a great training camp, didn't make a team. But now I'm the captain, which is kind of an albatross, right? Because you're developing younger guys, right? Like guys like Sean Brown, like Brownie. I took him under. I love Brownie so much, and I could just see the potential in him. I just wanted to see him do well. He was one of those kids who just wanted to help, and lots of other guys. So I was being a mentor to these guys and trying to show the way to be a pro, right? So obviously, from an organization perspective, they're like, well, I'm not going to be, on the power play in Edmonton. My best value for the organization is to be the minors, right?
Yeah.
So but I'm lighting it up. Like I'm having a really good, my best year of my career, and it's and I mean even the guys knew it. Like, and to the point where there was a bunch of injuries. Of course, this is my luck in my career. There was a whole bunch of injuries on defense that year, but like the Oilers kept calling up the prospects. Like, you had Craig Miller, and you had Sean Brown, and you had Murzy was up and down. You had all these guys.
Yeah.
Drake Berehowski was there, and he was going up and down. So this is before Christmas, right? And it was honestly, I'm not lying to you. Like when guys would get called up, they would come and apologize to me for getting called up because they knew because I was playing that well.
Wow.
Like, sorry, Sam, man. I just get called up again. I'm like, fuck you. Good luck.
And then one day, the phone rang.
So what I did is I went into Lauren's office, right? I go, Lauren, like for fuck's sakes, listen, I've been working my ass off for you, been leader of this team, doing what I can, anything I can. I'm a team guy. I don't want to be that guy, but like, is there no way I can get a fucking game in the NHL? Come on.
Give me a
Great
call.
fucking balls by going in and saying that, man. I wish more people did that. Keep going.
Well, it took me a while. I should have done it a lot earlier because I had a good relationship with Lauren, but I didn't want to be that guy. You want to be a team. You're so taught to be that team guy, right? You don't want to be selfish.
Especially if you're the captain at this point too.
I don't mean Sam, man, from the point of view that like if you had 9 games played. I just mean for people to play one game. I really think, especially towards the end of the year with teams that aren't making the playoffs. I don't know how Edmonton did that year, but anyway, keep going. I just
well, they had
that.
Yeah, so within a week I was called up. So good on Lord. He went to bat for me, and Ron Lowe was a coach at the time, and he was a great guy, and we had a great group of guys, great team. Like Buckberger was a captain. He totally took me under his wing. I mean, I knew these guys from training camp, but anyway, I played. I was kind of like you. Like you said, you played most of the year. I would sit out a lot of games, and then I'd get in. So I was up there for like 3 or 4 months. I was there before the Nagano Olympics. I went down back to the American League, and then they called me up right after Nagano Olympics. So good on them. Didn't have to do that. But they called me back up, and I played till the trade deadline. And they traded for who they traded for? They traded for I can't remember, defenseman. They wanted like more better defenseman. No, Marchie was there, I believe.
Drew Bannister, perhaps.
No, he was you know what? He was a Czech guy, and his son just played for the organization a few years ago. He was the M, last name M.
Oh, how about Roman Hammerlick? I'm just looking up guys that don't have many games on that year.
Yeah, no, Hammerlick got traded. I played with him, but he got traded.
But that
guy was.
I would feel, So I mean, we all joke, Sam, man, but when you're there, to me, it's time. What it has to be, but time spent, because some people get called up for a game and then they go back down. But I legitimately in 97, 98, 98, 99, I felt like part of the Canadians. Laugh at me if you want, but I felt like it. And in the summer you'd train and it's all one big family. And we had guys like Mark Recchi, who I hear is every bit Kelly Buchberger. They're veteran. They're very similar players that got very similar backgrounds and won Stanley Cups, played in the West, good leaders. And I had Recchi, and he was that way. And he said, you always make sure that you're a Montreal Canadian. You know that kid, right? So anyway.
Yeah. That's exactly what Bucky was. I remember like a real quick story is that I was invited. Like Bucky would always invite me. Like he liked to go and have drinks. I did too. So we were on the road. We were in Toronto. We had a day off, and he goes, "You're coming out for dinner with me." I go, "Okay, great. We'll go for dinner." So we'll go for dinner, and there was a bunch of other guys at the table, and like this was the lineup at the table. There was Doug Waite, Bill Guerin, Curtis Joseph, Kevin Lowe, Jason Smith.
A couple of cup rings there.
Marchand and Terran Sandwith. What's wrong with the picture, right? So that's how those guys treated me. I was a veteran guy, and so I think I wasn't just a rookie. I was 25 years old and whatever. So they kind of treated me with a lot of respect, and I just love those guys, love that time, and it was great.
No, that's great. And I should personally mention Shane Corson. He was also that guy for me that I probably hung out with more. Just for lack of saying it, I needed to say it. Now, so next, Sam, man, I'm going to skip over Cincinnati, because I'm trying to go chronologically, unless there's something you want to tell us about that year. But I wanted to know, my next question was, he came to St. John's. This is where Sam and I intersect, guys. After all this, and I'm going on my own ride. I was holding out of Montreal, again, not for money, for a chance to play, and I ended up signing in St. John's with my hometown. And Sandman, his wife Wendy is a great friend of the family. They're both peas in a pod to us. And I'd met Sandman, and you just got married to Wendy, correct?
Yeah, it was our first year of marriage, spending it at St. John's, Newfoundland.
And my dad and I met you at the rink, but I came over like maybe a month into the season. So I remember being at Atomic with my father. Remember that bar, boys, the club? And Sandman was there, and Wendy was like the obvious best-looking girl. She was the obvious best-looking girl, Wendy. Like, I'm not saying on the team. There's no competition there, but just like Sandman married her for a reason. She's a smart girl. She was real hot back at that time. And then Senior, though, got his backup. Senior always sticks up for the boys, right? So Senior's sitting there going, wait, what the fuck? He said, I heard all this stuff about Wendy. He said, look at this guy. I said, what? He goes, Sandman! And I was like, he didn't even know him, guys. This was it. He just bellied out that. Sandman and jumped and gave him a hug off the top row at Atomic. And then that was it. So even to say, I don't know what would have been your favorite memory, but explain some of the, I guess, the way of life that we had here in St. John's.
I just need to just like, it's only you and your, like, you and your dad are the only father-son combination I could see going to fucking Atomic.
Going to Atomic,
first thing I was thinking there.
He was right in
their
there.
dad to
and he'd
Atomic.
go, Senior doesn't pay, and he'd point at his beer. And the whole year he drank for free with all the St. John's Maple Leafs.
I fucking love him.
Oh, too late to adjust the shirt.
Was, like, honestly, he was part of the team. Yeah. But he literally was part of the team. Like the boys loved him, and we always, he always came out with us all the time. And I tell you, like when you meet Terry and then you meet Senior together, the package is just like you can't even explain, the vortex you get drawn into, right? You know what I mean? And it's unbelievable. It's awesome. And I say this all the time, and I got to toot your horn, Terry, like, and your dad as well. Like, the thing is, like, yeah, Terry and Senior like to have a lot of fun, but underlying all that stuff is, and I tell people, like, honestly, these guys are like, and I bet you they get tested, like IQ level, like genius level, like, is like there's some really super smart, thoughtful guys, but they just come in this crazy package, right? So I just loved hanging out with them all the time. You know what I mean? I just loved hanging out with them all the time. My wife loved hanging out with them all the time, and we get love when Senior would go to bat for me and kind of call it or shit or whatever. Right? Like,
he would be at the house parties with us, Sam, man. I mean, and the other thing, boys, I want to reiterate. I talked about here on going to school. Now, a lot of people, school and hockey, you normally go together by NCAA. That's the way you associate it. But I talked about my dad going and getting his and he did about getting his degree like while he played junior and stuff, and which is not hard. Even while you play pro, that's a hard thing to do. I don't know anybody else doing it. I know there's a few people here and there, but Sam, man, motivated me. I'm telling you to go back and get my fucking degree, whether it is a folklore degree or whatever the fuck it is. I went back and got it. And Sam, man, would be on the bus. I remember Sam, man, coming out, and we were on the road. I think this might have been shortly after Bird Dog threatened Bonsignor at the table, but I told that story already. But
couple times now,
Sam, and I come out and I'm like, we're on the bus the next day, and everybody's a little bit hungover. I mean, you wouldn't go out till 6 in the morning, but you go out for beers. We went to dinner, so I'm sure we got home at like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Got up in the morning, and Sam Man's going back, and I see the book bag on him. I said, "What the fuck is this?" He said, "Well, I'm going to Queens." I keep saying, but it wasn't. Was it?
It was York. At the time, I was going to York. Yeah.
You're going to York. I couldn't believe it, guys. And this was something, he wasn't saying much about it. 2 things he inspired me to do. And he told me, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you got anywhere with Sam Man, but the first person that ever mentioned to me that they were going to write a book about their experiences was you. You said that. It was around that time. I don't even know
Terry
if
stole your idea.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
He convinced me to go back to school, and then I thought, if he's going to write it about stories, I got some fucking stories too.
And then he told you all about the time his plan to start a podcast with 2 guys who have no right to talk about hockey.
Well, here's what you got to know about the Crazy 8s. We always share our stuff, So
the Crazy 8. Yeah, we're gonna run with this. It's gonna be the Crazy 8.
I like it.
We just gotta make it like the traveling Yoggers. You gotta find like 20 guys that got 8 games.
Guys, yeah, exactly. The other thing is, so we would play. We didn't make the playoffs that year, right? But we had what a great team. So after
really good.
when we would go out early, we often didn't stay out till 2 or 3 in the morning. Like, I mean, people say, well, you shouldn't. No, but I mean, you drink, especially at that time. We would go often right to the bar. So our practices would be, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to noon in the morning, and then we would go out to the Ale and Lager, have a few, maybe order something to eat, go over, catch out some Irish music, maybe play the video lotto for a little bit, go down to the penalty box, get a steak. Like, we lived the St. John's bar hopping. That was just every afternoon, like Bird Dog, right? Yeah. Bird Dog would be like, let's go out and drink for 10 hours. But let's do it at noon, and then you're in bed by 10, everybody wins. We did a lot of that, Sam, man. And how was your first year? That was your first year of marriage in St. John's, Newfoundland. Yeah. And I know you balanced it. You came out and you were married. It was very rare. Most married guys stay in. How did you balance that, and how was that feeling?
Well, it was very, obviously, your first year of marriage, you might like something new. And I mean, the thing too is I was like a super single guy when I was single. Like, I mean, I was out having fun and doing whatever, and getting in trouble and all that kind of stuff. So
Playboy's next to you,
exactly right. So when I met Wendy very quickly, and we got married very quickly. And but she was like really fun and wanted to have a good time and loved to go out. Yeah. Still married, and liked to go out and have fun and liked to party with the guys and would almost rather hang out with guys than the girls. Just have a good time. And so it was kind of good because we were kind of going through this adjustment, both of us, of being first year marriage and me adjusting to that new lifestyle and whatever. But I had all these clowns around me that were like literally, and I was like, I played with some pretty fun teams, but I mean, between Sean Thornton and Terry Ryan and DJ Smith, Pepperell, you go through the whole group of guys. Yeah. I mean, just a fun bunch of dudes. So. It was fun for me to party with them, and then obviously it was easy to have Wendy along and party with them. Honestly, God, I'll tell you that they loved her more than me. Like, really, I'm only probably friends with these guys because of Wendy. Really.
At the time, she wasn't our competition. You were. So all the defensemen, I'm sure that they liked her a lot better than they liked you. Now I am kidding, Sam, man, but she's a friend. But this is the thing. So Sam, man, we were all real good buddies. I got to tell you this because I know you don't remember this. This happened, and it's just in my mind. But we were in Philadelphia, and I was in a weird position because I signed with the St. John's Maple Leafs. I was waiting. Toronto told me they were trying to trade for me. Didn't happen. But I'm obviously going to be a role player. They're not going to have me on the St. John's Maple Leafs playing ahead of their prospects. Like Kevin Adams was one then. He ended up playing for Carolina. Adam Mayer, he was on our team. Nathan Dempsey, I know he's a D, but there might be a spot on a power play. Like, I wasn't going to get, and I knew that going in. But with that came fighting, and this was a year, I wasn't scared to do it. But playing with most of the year, I played with either Pepperell and Thornton, maybe Aaron Brand. But, there was a lot of people like that, like to chuck the knuckles. Dennis Maxwell. And we were in last place. So, a lot of the games, when does fighting happen? When you're down 1-0, 2-1, right? So if you're down a lot of games, then you're a guy like me, you're probably going to get more fights. So we're in Philadelphia, and there was this guy, Francis Lassard, okay? Now, this guy, you hear stories about him. Francis was one of the guys that put out Lindros in practice. I don't know if you ever heard about that. It happened in Philadelphia. Lindros had another concussion in practice because Francis fucking Lassard, who played like just a handful of NHL games, maybe he played 100. I don't know. You look it up. But he was a fucking killer, is a killer. I think he's still playing in the Quebec League.
I hope he just played 8.
So he comes at me. Yeah. I know. Imagine if he just played 8. Imagine if he's part of the crazy fucking 8.
I'm on this, boys. I'm going to track this down for you.
Francis Lassard, Lessard. But he'd just look, and like anytime he just wanted to fight, he was licking like he had steam coming out of his ears. He was like the bull when Bugs Bunny's trying to be the matador to the bull. Like, he looked like a caricature. Like, this guy was mad all the time. But blonde hair, big red face on him, and just, oh, no, I'll kill you, saying it in French. So I'm left wing and he's right D. So like I'm looking over and I'm going like, ease up, buddy. Like ease up a little bit. I know I'm going to fight you, but we don't have to hate our lives, okay? Listen to the fucking song playing.
Oh, yeah. I just got a photo of him.
I just found him, yeah.
Holy fuck.
Oh, this guy, well, you found a photo. He's probably, I think he's on my Facebook.
No, I found him. I found him on Hockey DB.
Like I said, tough guys stick together.
2016, 2017 for Trois
still
Riviere was his last.
Still fighting at that age.
listed.
40, still bombing.
In 2015, 2016 with the Cornwall River Kings, he put up 118 penalty minutes.
Oh, in a senior league.
The LNAH.
Well, I'm sure there's the years I'm talking about, I bet you put up 300 minutes. Like, I fought him If I fought him once, I fought him 10 times.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
In 1999-2000, which would have been the year he played for the Maple Leafs, he played for the Philadelphia Phantoms. Does everybody want to guess how many penalty minutes he had?
543.
No. I'm going to say 307.
Terran?
He's in the 400s, 425.
416.
Okay,
416.
This is what we're dealing with. Okay, so
his next year he put up 330.
Well, he's a tough guy. Yeah. So without doing any more calculations, we know he's a fucking killer. Although, thank you for that. I'm not knocking you. That was a good stat to bring up. I didn't know he had 400.
I forgot it was that much too. That's crazy.
Yeah. So he's looking at me off the draw, and I knew I fought him in Fredericton, and there's a picture of me playing in Montreal against Carolina. He was the guy, and sure enough, he rooted me. We fought and he never even said anything after, you're a cunt or fuck you, or it was just I'm here to eat people, and I'm going to eat whoever's in my way. So he's looking at me in Philadelphia, and we're playing in the Spectrum. The great thing about playing the Philadelphia Phantoms is that at the time they played where the Philadelphia Flyers played. Now the Flyers got a new building, but still the Spectrum's there. I believe they still play there. They did at least for a long time. So we're playing in the Spectrum. So point being, this isn't Fredericton. There's 12,000 people at the game. So I'm just okay. Just whatever. I'll fight you. Just relax. He comes right at me off the draw, grabs me. Boom. And I believe these are on YouTube. Most of them are. But he's fighting, and I won't go down, but I'm hitting him with a tenth of the force that he's hitting me. But it looks good. I'm like, holy fuck. I go to the penalty box after the fight, and I just feel like I just been whipped. But they're throwing it on the fucking Jumbotron. I'm like, oh, geez, I did okay. I did okay against Lassard. So I step out of the penalty box, and he asks me, as he's coming at me, I'm like, holy fuck. So we're going to go again. Wow. So I'm like, okay. So we go in the penalty box, and I'm thinking, I don't even want to look at this guy. I'm thinking, I bet he's going to want to go again. So I go in the dressing room, and Sandman and the boys are kind of laughing. They're under their breath because they know I don't mind fighting, but it had just been a crazy road trip. I got in 5. So I'm sitting there going, Jesus. Sandman says, I don't suppose you think Francis Lassard wants to fight? I said, what? So I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then Thorny starts giggling. He's like, no, fuck, you got to do it again. I was like, no way. And Sandman goes, I just talked to Wendy. Wendy wants you to do it. So I said, fuck, I got to go do it again. Boys, I fought him again. And then, for good measure, the first shift back in St. John's the next weekend, he looks at me. I said, are you fucking kidding me? And he just goes, yep. And I went, holy fuck. He came at me, and we got into it again right in front of my buddy Jeremy Hart. Anyway, the boys Sandman was one of those guys, it was all a joke. I wasn't really doing it for Wendy, but they knew the situation that I was in, and they're like, bring it again. Just bring it again. I was getting shit kicked. I was out there. You know the way I fight? I'm throwing, so they all look pretty good, but I'm taking a lot of punches. I must have taken 1,000 punches when I played for the St. John's Maple Leafs.
I've got to add my 2 cents to this because I don't know if it was that game or another game. You also fought that McLaren guy who I thought was tougher than Lassard. Yeah. He threw a punch. You want to talk about Odger's punch? This guy I've never seen a guy throw a punch like that.
One of the legends of all time in the American.
And no, he never made it. He never played anywhere. That was the one guy that really scared me. And you fought him as well that game, I think. Was it that game or another game?
No, it was the next. I played 2 games in Philly. I had 5 fights. The next game, it was him and Belanger.
It was Belanger. That's right. So you fought Lassard, Belanger, and McLaren the same game,
Steve
right?
McLaren, right?
Yeah.
Steve McLaren.
Doing the Lassard was the last 2 and the first of the next game, and the other 2 that sandwiched it were Belanger and McLaren. You're right.
Belanger, McLaren.
You had a great fucking memory.
I tell you, I've never seen anybody ever in a game, and that's what I always tell guys about Terry is that you can say what you want to say about him, he comes across this guy joking around guy. When the game was on, when you're playing the game, you never wanted to have another guy on your side in a room going to war with a guy. He would work his ass off all the time, and he would do anything for the team. And he not only fought all 3 of those guys, they were 1 minute bouts of those epic, just toe to toe, no regard for your body at all. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, I've never seen anything like it. I was like, oh my God. I think I went and hugged you after the game.
Well, you did, Sam, and I gained a lot of respect from you, to be honest. And I wasn't looking for that. That's not what that was just, I guess me being me, especially on that team, it would have been magnified again because I knew it's not like I'm going to be on the power play or anything. I was there for a purpose. So that's why it was so funny because, like, if Francis Lessard wanted to fight, well, I suppose you got to go fight him.
I'm going to tell you guys, I have never gotten afraid looking on Hockey DB before, but when Mike pulled up this guy's picture, I got fucking scared.
Imagine him looking at you growling, man. He'd be growling and shit.
I'm saying that's the other guy.
Yeah, he's not half as scary. McLaren, not half as scary.
I do appreciate that, and I really do. And I bring my buddies on here, but you really give me goosebumps there because, even though I would have liked to play longer, and I know I'm still playing senior, but that's the thing that got me. I would have liked to play pro a little bit longer. We all would, but you got to move on. And it's really touching to know that even though I already know it. To know that you touch people like that, and you were the same to me. You know it. We had a great weekend. Before you go, because you've been here forever, but you got great stories. I just want to know, because I try to tell kids, Sam, man. Point being, we're almost done the story of Terran Sandwith chronologically, at least the teams that he played on. But I'll preface this way. I have hockey schools and we talked about it. And Jason Smith, hopefully maybe I'll have him on. He was our teammate there last weekend, guys.
Great guy.
And a lot of the things we've been saying, he'd echo. But he often says, he's like, you do these hockey schools, and kids ask, kids' parents, no kids, but kids parents normally ask, what does Johnny have to do to make the NHL? And along the way, there's just so much more to it. First of all, if anybody listens to this podcast, these stories shape who we fucking are as people. So, 1 game NHL games, 1,200 NHL games, no NHL games, 8. Whatever it is, we're all involved. Yeah, we're all involved in the game still, and it brings you joy. And there's other avenues. And one of them to me, I say, is travel. And people that don't, I try to reiterate to people, man, at least for 1 year if you can, and you're a kid and you're a pro hockey player, go see fucking Europe. Now, the Sandman ended up in Austria, and he ended up in Finland, Helsinki.
And
Tell
Northern
us about
Ireland.
Anything
our
about
second
that.
Belfast Giant on the show.
Belfast, I forgot. Tell us a little bit about that, Sandman, about your experience over there. What stands out, and, what maybe story would we like to hear?
Oh, my God. Well, real quick one. Our mailman got bombed. He got killed.
Jesus Christ!
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, it was crazy. It was
in Belfast.
We were safe.
2001, 2002, so it's a little bit of unrest there. Then, yeah,
it was just after the Accords and stuff. It was like they built that brand new, they built a state of the art 6,000 seat arena with a Hard Rock Cafe attached. If you didn't know anything about anything, you'd be like, this is a beautiful European city and what have you, right? But then you would be driving along. First off, you'd see it's like that a lot of places now, but this is before. Well, this is actually during 9/11. We were in Belfast when 9/11 happened. But you see cameras everywhere, and then you'd be you get those little European vehicles. You'd be driving, and all of a sudden this big armored vehicle would come by with guys with machine guns over there, over the turret, right? Just stuff you'd never imagine. But the thing is that we had all Canadians, had one American on our team. We were all Catholic, Protestant, whatever. But over there, it didn't matter because we were North American. So we could literally, whether you're Catholic, Protestant, go on either side. Nobody would think anything of it. But the one story that stands out for just to show you, and it's a huge lesson to me as far as even stuff that goes on now with terrorism and Islamophobia and everything like that. At the end of the day, 99% of the people just want to go and raise their kids like everybody else all over the world, right? And it's the small faction of people that have an agenda, that have an extremist agenda, that want to cause these problems. And then what happens, especially over there, what I saw was that once you kind of get entrenched in that, it's so hard to get out of, because these people's basically their livelihoods and who they are, they identify with are with these groups. And so to get out of that spiral, my kind of sense of things was those guys are just basically armed gangs at the end of the day, because all the troubles was really in the 70s and 80s, and they kind of tapered off, right? And don't get me wrong, I mean, not to say there's lots of issues there, and I'm certainly not an expert on any of it, but just my total observation. But so the one thing that really kind of hit me was that what the Belfast Giants did is that they went in there, they wanted to make it a neutral sport, because all the other sports, like whether it's soccer and they have that crazy Irish sport over there, they're either Protestant or Catholic sports or Protestant or Catholic teams. And it was a very male dominated. So the males go there and just get drunk and be idiots and whatever. It wasn't a family atmosphere and anything. No families go into sports really. So they made it like it is in North America. It was a family event. The colors were neutral, like they weren't on one side or the other.
Oh wow, that's a move. That's an interesting take.
They really made sure that it was about Belfast. It was a Belfast team. It was a Northern Ireland team. It wasn't, Protestant or Catholic or whatever, right? So families could come to those games, and they would love to. Obviously, they love watch the Canadians just fight each other. Get a little bit of violence in there, on the side. Yeah, exactly right. But we would have to go into the Hard Rock after every game and do something like a meet and greet after every single game.
Oh wow!
And Wendy came up to me after the game. She goes, a guy like a middle-aged man comes up to me, and he goes, you know what? I want to tell you what you've done for this city, for Northern Ireland. I knowingly, for the first time in my life, talked to a Catholic, and he goes, you know what? He wasn't a bad guy.
Wow.
Literally, that's what that. I mean, and we're just going this is mind-boggling to even understand, right, from our perspective.
Wow.
But that's the kind of power that we had. Then we won the championship that year, and we had news from all over the world coming in because with all the conflicts and everything like that, and we'd won a championship for Belfast, Northern Ireland. It was an incredible experience. Yeah, absolutely.
That's wild, Sam. And I see Jason Bowen. He was in Tri my first year. Jason Ruff, I played with in Bentley. Rocket Rod Stevens, he was a fast guy.
Oh.
Eh? Was he still fast over there? He was in junior.
Yeah.
I used to call him Rocket Rod.
Yeah, you could play it. You could still play it.
Jeff Hode, Paxton Schulte. Look at you guys. Chad Allen, Todd Kelman. We play with a lot of those guys. And
Killer, he was awesome.
I mean, who wouldn't have fun on that team? What did they scout the Western League only?
It was all Western League guys. It was awesome. Very good. That's why I went over there. Actually, my goalie.
Eastern was from Ontario, like fucking Mississauga. Yeah.
Well, Dave Matsos, I played with on the Canadian national team along with Mark Cavill and the goalie. So we played the Canadian national team together. And, okay, well, another really quick story. So we'll tie this around again to each other. So that summer, I was basically my career was over for the second time, and I was going to Europe. And so, but Sean Thornton was an unrestricted free agent. He was just out of. He just had signed. He was done with the Leafs, I think, or maybe it was the next team after. I can't remember. And I'm not lying. His mom is from Belfast. His mom was born in Belfast. He was within a week away of coming with me over to Belfast. And the reason why I went over there was because of Mark Cavill and Dave Matthews, Jason Bowen I played with in Philly, in Hershey, and in Hamilton, and in Tri-Cities. But Thornton was almost coming, and then he signed, we believe, with Norfolk just at the last minute, or with Chicago.
Yeah.
And he went on, and that's how he went on to go and win the Stanley Cup with Anaheim and Boston. Our coach,
Al McAdam, went on to Chicago. I'm not implying that's why Thordy was there, but something has to work. And Thordy was tough, and he proved that he should have been there. I'm just saying, sometimes you need that was the end, right? And Al stuck up. Al's a great fucking guy like that.
Great guy.
Had to give him an opportunity. I don't think at the time, not putting Thordy down, I don't think at the time he had tons of options. But Thordy only got better, and we can talk about that another time. But listen, Sam, man, I think we should wind it down and let you get back to whatever the fuck you're doing. It's an hour and a half later.
That was incredible.
Yeah,
feels like 5 minutes.
Sam, man, we could talk like this because, again, the hockey tournament Sam, man, and I were just at. The whole point is to sit and have beers with the boys and tell stories more than anything. So we've got a ton more, and I want to kind of get at the next time. He's going to be another guy we have to have on for a second one.
Yeah. I think everybody.
You know what? The second year of this show, whenever that might be. We're going to have the exact same fucking people back.
Let's do it backwards.
Because I can think of 10 stories now that I want to tell.
Yeah.
I've got one question before we go here. I do this to a lot of people that go through a certain city, and I ask, looking back, what is one of your favorite cities to play in?
Well, I'll tell you, I played in the minors in some of the shittiest cities ever. Like, these guys play in the California and stuff now. I would have loved it. So I played in a lot of terrible cities starting out. I've got to go with. I think I got to go with Helsinki. Really, you're in Europe, and that was
almost had him.
Really
I got
fun.
the H.
Chuck wants to know what it was like to play in Hershey. I think
he's told it smells like chocolate the whole town.
Every guy that's come on this program and has punched. Obviously, you had not had as much fun in Hershey compared to most people, but most of the guys, they always land on Hershey.
Guys, before I jump in, that's why we got to talk to him again, because Sandman, I know you went to Shakey's, baby. You went to Shakey's.
I live with the owner of Shakey's. Me and Neil Little lived in her basement.
Do you know how
so the
legendary?
owner of Shakey's were they also?
Well, Shaky. No. She was a little older. Shaky was the goalie that played for Hershey, but his partner was this older lady, and we lived in her basement for a year.
Wow. And that would have been one of your first years, Sam, man. I loved it. I went there and I heard about Shakey's from like Jeff Circa and Todd Gillingham and Bird Dog and like some old schoolers. And I went there and it's just this little tiny fucking room. It's like the first time you go to In-N-Out Burger. You're like, what? Okay, but then the fourth time you get it.
Yeah.
It's a legend.
Telling you, I'm going to go on a hockey road trip one day and I'm going to make it to Hershey.
Well,
like that's...
you really should.
Well, Beaker's still a trainer there. Like, my old trainer, he's still there.
Beaker,
I want to get back there too.
Jesus
Christ. Yeah, he's still there.
Been there 25 years then. Okay, Sam, man. Well, look, we'll talk soon. And
hey, boys.
The next thing we're going to do, we're going to give a shout out to Andrew Usnick and the rest of the select few. I say that because you and I and Andrew were talking about you guys maybe coming over here. So, Mike, maybe you can get on that.
Yeah.
We need to get a rec hockey tournament for these guys to come to. There is one in August, but any time of the year, I was trying to get him here for George Street Festival. Yeah. If not, we can maybe create one.
I think we should do a third man.
These guys got the time. They got the means. They can do it. So we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll have a third man in podcast, and that's for next time.
Unbelievable.
Okay,
unbelievable.
Sam, man.
Love it.
We'll see you soon, buddy.
All right.
Take care, boys. Thanks.
Thank you.
See ya. All right. That was something.
It was. I mean, I know, like you always say, like, oh, everybody loves Hershey, and everybody, like, no, it's like you ask and everybody says another town. You're like, everybody says Hershey.
I don't know,
no one, I don't think has ever said Hershey.
I kind of knew when he had said that his coach in Hershey is kind of the counterpart. I was like, I'm not. But he made the H.
He did.
Hershey was a good spot to play, though. Just for the boys, like it was almost like an extension of junior. Well, it was so small.
Everyone, a lot of people have mentioned the camaraderie there because it is a very small city.
The movie theater got like 13 seats in it, man.
I'm telling you,
it's like either 13 or 14. I remember after.
Every way it's been described to me.
Did you have your cell phone go off and throw it at the fucking door there?
Three little theaters. It's like Topsail. 3 little theaters. The biggest one maybe has 50 seats. But it's a smaller. Not that that's a bad thing.
I love that. I prefer that.
I mean, you play junior, and normally you're playing in these small towns. So guys that come from places like Swift Current or Prince Albert or Tri-City or whatever it might be, it really feels comfortable because it's like as soon as you're out of junior, you miss it and you realize, oh God. Wow, how fun was that? Yeah. Now I come out of Montreal. There's something cool about, going to your first pro team, whether it's Montreal Canadiens, Fredericton Canadiens, Hartford Wolfpack, and New York Rangers, but you feel that the door has been closed and you're like, why didn't I appreciate hanging out with the boys like on a junior level? And then all of a sudden you land in Hershey, which has 8,000 people. There are more people go to the games in Hershey than live in Hershey.
That's wild.
And see, you nailed. This is the reason why I've always had this weird fascination with Hershey. You nailed it. 8,000 people, and it's an industry town. I always pictured as it my small hometown of Wabush, industry town, not a chocolate factory, unfortunately. But had they somehow gotten an American Hockey League franchise.
Yeah.
It's always, and just that's what the first thing I think about is 8,000 people, and every Jesus one of them are at that hockey game.
Yeah, and I mean it's and what's cool too for the players, like you said, it's kind of a transitional thing. It's as you're coming out of junior before you're moving on, hopefully to somewhere that's like a large market NHL city. It's this small town where you are the biggest fish in it, and it's just. Wow,
people, and the people there treat you like that. Like there's the smaller the place, the better the booster clubs and stuff. I can say that there might be more people who are fans in, say, a bigger place like the Houston Aeros, maybe. But I find in those places, because it's much more personal. I mean, they come down and wait outside the room and everything like.
But it's also kind of like what happens here. We talk about it a little bit with the senior league here, where it's in St. John's. Not as many people come out to the senior games because there's more stuff happening in the city. There's more whatever. But if you're in Grand Falls on a Saturday night in the winter, you're going to the Joe Burn and you're watching the Cats.
There's
play.
Something to be said. Even on a senior level, we have imports. They don't all get paid like Aaron Asham did. So for them to come in, there must be to them to go through that hassle. There must be something other than money that's bringing them, and that's usually it. Yeah. But boys, I got to take
you as
off
well.
shortly. Yeah,
You're bringing them in.
All right,
You're calling them up and
let's
saying,
get to
let's
the
go.
takes. Let's get to the.
I got one thing to say.
Okay.
Okay, because I keep reminding myself, and I've got to leave on this note because I got to get back to work.
Yeah.
So I just want to tell a quick story. Okay, so a lot of people, I was telling this in Edmonton to the boys, and they said, why don't you tell it? So to put in perspective, I often say that, Ray John and Huel, I didn't not get along with them. People assume that when I said fuck, I didn't ever really even say fuck the Montreal Canadiens. I didn't like Michel Therrien, okay? And I thought I should play, so I just didn't go back to camp. But when I talked to Reggie on the phone, Reggie Huel, he was never like, go fuck yourself. That was never, ever the case. I want to reiterate that to people. He was pretty nice to me. But I didn't think, and he got his job. He was a beer rep, and then he became the Montreal GM. Not saying he didn't know hockey, but it seemed a little bit like of a step back for me, who I just got drafted by Serge Savard, and I don't know Ray-Jean Huel. So anyway, I go down to the minors after, I guess it would be my second year in the organization. So I played out my junior, and I played my first year in Fredericton. So 97, 98, I get the Fredericton Canadiens Rookie of the Year. I get 21 goals, 256 penalty minutes, 34 fights. I know what you would say. Oh, good for you. No big deal or whatever. But it's like Senior would say, it's simply fact. So I'm telling the story. So I had a good year, and I missed a lot of games too. I played 71, I think. Again, everybody should know their stats, but I've been hitting the head a few times. But I think I had 71 games played, so I missed 9 or 11. So Reggie comes in. It's the end of the year, and I believe we were playing Pittsburgh that year, I think, in the playoffs. So I got called up with Brad Brown, Aaron Asham, I believe was there. Maybe it was 98, 99. No, it was 97, 98 for sure. So, just years mold together. But I know this happened. So at the end of the season, we all go up to finish the year. Fredericton ends, whatever. You go up to Montreal. You're a black ace for a little bit. And then you go in for your end-of-the-year meetings. So I already had my end-of-the-year meetings in Fredericton with Michel Therrien. That pretty much was, I don't really remember, but I can't imagine. Yeah.
I'm imagining it myself
We didn't
right
like
now.
each other.
Yeah, no kidding.
So Reggie sits down.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So Reggie's behind the desk, and he's interviewing me for about 4 or 5 minutes. And he's like, and then the question comes up, where do you see yourself next year? So I said, well, on the Montreal Canadiens. And he goes, he stops short for a second, grabs a water. I'm like, what? And I'm
do
like,
a spit take on you?
and I'm going, what? Like, I'm a first round pick. I just was Rookie of the Year in the minors. Like, who else are you going to? So of the people that are in the minors, if I'm the Rookie of the Year, if you're not going to play me, like, give me somewhere else. Like, what are you saying, that this is weird? Anyway, but he hasn't spoken yet.
Yeah.
So he takes a sip of the water. Okay. Looks at his notes. Okay. And he says, so what do you think you can do on the Montreal Canadiens? So I said, I don't know. I think I can get 20 goals, and I think I can get 200 penalty minutes. And I remember specifically, I said, well, I know I can get, I said, I don't know I can get the goals. I think I can. But I said, if you want, I can get 400 penalty minutes. I can do whatever I want in that department. You just let me on the ice. I want to play in the NHL. Yeah. So he's laughing again at the fighting comment. And he says, well, boy, I'm not sure, but I love your lofty I love your goals, Russ. And I said, Russ, who the fuck does it? I said, oh my God, he thinks I'm Russ Gouger. So I'm just assuming Russ Gouger because there was a guy in our organization named Russ Gouger. I've never really asked. I don't know, but he called me Russ. So I said, whoa. I said, like, Reggie, who do you think you're talking to? And he just kind of stumbles for a second. I said, it's Terry Ryan. I was your Rookie of the Year in the minors this season, and I've been in Montreal for 2 weeks. Like, practicing with your team, whatever it was. I don't remember how long, but, it was. So
also 8th overall pick. Couple years back.
8th overall. So, yeah, I mean, like, and I'd been up, and I'd met him before. Like, so I guess he just wasn't.
Wow.
Not a lot. Wow. But I'd met him. So I'm like, okay. Again, I don't hold it against him. He'd probably laugh at that now. And again, it wasn't his fault. He literally did. Well, it is his fault, but it wasn't malicious. He literally didn't fucking remember me. He would have if you showed him my stats.
Yeah.
Right. But he just didn't even know what I looked like. So I'm like, oh fuck. So I'm definitely not in their plans. Right. I'm definitely not. Ooh. So I get home and I call my agent, Mike Barnett, who's Wayne Gretzky's agent, and I'm like, he got me good money to sign, all that shit. Like, Mike the only problem with Mike is that I didn't get to see him a lot. But I'm thinking, he still knows all about me and everything, and he knows that I'm in this situation. So I call Mike, and I tell him, and I'm like, I'm shaking. I'm like, Mike, I know how you said not to worry, but I'm telling you right now, I just don't see a good thing. I don't see me playing for the Montreal Canadiens. Like, I'm not, and I'm freaking out. He's like, slow down. I said, okay. Grab some water. Okay, Mike. Anyway, look. So I look at Reggie. He doesn't even know what I look like. And Mike goes, you know what you should do? I said, no. He goes, make the move to left wing. And I said, Jesus Christ, I am a left winger. He thought I was a centerman. Now, I'm not saying I haven't played it in my life at certain points, including this year, but it's senior hockey, but I hadn't played. I got put left wing to play with Damon Langkowen Jr., and we both lit it up, and we both went way higher than we were supposed to because of the fact that he went center and I went wing, and Mike Barnett just got me $1.25 million to sign my name on a shit piece of paper the year before because of that. And I call him trying to get out, and he doesn't even know what position I play. So here, in one day, I found out that the GM that I'm trying to make the team that I'm sitting in Montreal, living in that city at the time, doesn't know that I play on the Canadiens, doesn't know who I am, and my agent doesn't know what position I am. So
it's a hard day. That's a hard day.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You know what would have been really good right then?
What?
Is an ice cold Miller Lite.
Here's a few things to know when opening an ice-cold Miller Lite. They brew their beer at 90 calories and 3 grams of carbs per 355 milliliter serving. And they also brew for great taste. It's this great Pilsner taste that's made Miller Lite a favorite for our beer drinkers everywhere. Miller Lite, 90 calories, 3 grams of carbs. It's Miller time.
That was a pretty good segue that I had there, and I'm proud of it. TR had to step away. We are actually just going to be here for 1 second to let you know that we will be this coming weekend when you're hearing this at Hockey Heroes Weekend here in St. John's. It's got a great lineup of phenomenal alumni. Right now, fundraising is still going on, so if you head down the heartandstroke.ca, you can find all the information there about how to donate, how to support teams right now. Tomcats, Battle Cats, who often clean up in fundraising.
A great name. That is a wonderful name.
They are currently the top team right now. At the time we're recording this, they've got over $20,000 raised for an incredible cause. There's some great individuals as well that are fundraising and doing really well with it. Top goalie right now is Mike, and I hope I'm saying this right, Janelle, who's got a fair bit of money raised, along with some top skaters like Gerald Bursey, Mark Woodford, Rob King. Those guys are all doing some phenomenal stuff fundraising, and we're going to get to see them on the weekend of May 10th to 12th here in St. John's. It's happening at Twin Rinks here in the city, and I'm going to tell you as well what alumni is going to be around because it's pretty cool. The alumni we got coming this year is Denny Savard, Shane Corson, who TR knows is going to be a lot of fun to have him around. Ally Afraidy's going to be here, Brad May.
Oh, man, it's May Day today.
Andre Waugh, Dougie Gilmore is going to be here, Eric Daze, Mike Krushelinski, PJ Stock, Patrice Brisebois, Brian Campbell, Jamal Myers.
Scored a goal off his face.
Jamal Mayers, and I will get his name right in person.
His name right.
And, of course, our weekend MC is going to be Ken Reed. So we're going to be doing a bunch of fun stuff while we're there. Chuck's going to be that first Friday night when make sure to follow at 3MI Podcast on Twitter because Chuck's going to be live tweeting as they do. All the top fundraisers get to draft the alumni for their team. So Chuck's going to be live tweeting that, treating it like the draft, which is going to be a whole pile of fun. And then we're going to be set up all day Saturday, all day Sunday, kicking around. Make sure to come and say hi to us.
Now, if you heard the first episode with Ken Reed, we went on a little segue, a little journey about Pictou County Pizza. I know Ken likes to check in on these from time to time, and I've got it. I think I've got him beat. I think I've found a better pizza in the St. John's area. Oh yeah. Okay. So, Ken, if you're listening, you come in with an open mind.
Are we going to have a pizza challenge between you and Ken Reed?
Come in with an open mind is all I'm going to say.
Here's the question, though, that I do have is how far is this pizza going to have to travel to get to Twin Rinks, and is it still going to hold up?
Oh, no. Yeah, I never thought that through.
Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
But again, we're going to be there. It's going to be a whole pile of fun. Make sure to come and say hi and check the whole weekend out. Get a chance to see some of the alumni. And, of course, like I said, head to heartandstroke.ca and you can find out how to donate to some of the teams or just donate to any individuals or just donate because it's a great cause. And, you really should support it. I mean, heart and stroke problems in Newfoundland especially, like it's a huge health concern here. We kind of bat outside our weight class a little bit in terms of national numbers. and Bat Outsider. Wait, that's not even that's like
that's, you're
it's
you're
been
mixing up. You're not allowed to bring bats into the boxing ring, Mike.
It's been a long day, and you know what? I could use a vacation. Which is lucky because we're listening to this. We're actually recording this early, which is why we're not touching on any playoff stuff. Simply because we're recording this like almost a week before it's going to actually
first preempt special.
Sort of. It's been pre-recorded simply because I'm going to be when you listen to this, chances are I'm going to be on a beach in Mexico wearing some pink shorts with flamingos on them and just lying in the sun.
If this drops Tuesday, I'm hopefully going to be in Bonavista Bay.
Well, that's a nice spot to be.
Yeah. No beach for me.
Well, no, not quite the same, but still, I'll drink enough rum drinks with my shirt mostly unbuttoned for you. Don't worry.
What are you, a third button guy? What are you doing?
I am an all the time too. As soon as I hit the resort, it's down to 3, and then as the week goes on, the V gets deeper.
So we've got the
like
crowd,
the problem is going to be rebuttoning. It's from a friend's wedding is the main reason I'm heading down south, and the problem is going to be going back into like 2 days in, just being like, oh wait, I gotta like redo one of these.
We've got them named, my friend group. So this is so your first one. That's just your cash button.
Okay.
Yeah, I never do that up unless I'm in an office.
No.
But the second button, we always call that the Hedderson button.
Okay.
There's a guy, a guitar player, Lab West, great guy, Ryan Hedderson, and I don't think he owns a shirt like that. I think he just removes the button. And then the third.
Oh shit! I gotta get a shirt fixed. Fuck. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
And I'll leave the third. The third one is a distant relative of mine. I'll leave his name out of it.
Can we also just?
Oh no, I am undressing in Mike's.
Oh dear God, guys!
But the third one is a distant relative of mine, an uncle, and he just never does that up. And
I right now I'm down.
Yeah, you've got an undershirt. Though.
Yeah, so that doesn't count. But once I hit the resort, once I get down south, like the first, like I'm kind of. It's kind of like, you ever see Snake Eyes with Nick Cage, where he's like going around and he's like just in full party mode, and then he like has to go business and like put on the tie because he's like got to solve the crime or whatever. That's me like trying to get my shit together to go to this wedding. Like it's gonna be like I'm gonna be like 2 days in on just like full on party beach mode, and then just oh wait no hang on, let me button up this shirt for a hot minute.
So you're
and
just
then go
worried.
back
You're just worried about wrecking the wedding.
No, I think I'll be fine. I think I'll be too hungover to ruin anything.
All right.
Actually, now I'm going to drink through the wedding. It's going to be fine.
I kind of wanted a poll here. Will Mike wreck the wedding?
No, I'm not going to. But I'm going to get back Friday night, which is why you're going to be live tweeting from the Heart and Stroke Foundation. Go. And then Saturday morning, I'll roll in and we'll get to the rink and we'll get everything set up. And we're going to have some fun there over the weekend. And it's going to be great. In the meantime, you can always hit up 3mipodcast.com. That'll give you all the information about where to find us and everything about us and what we're doing and all the fun we're having. My home address
is on there. You'll find me very easily.
And of course, you can also shop there. We've got a shop that's been doing really well. Thank you guys so much for the support with the shop. The senior shirts we threw up that were, again, at the suggestion of Ken Reed. We got to thank him for that one. Those shirts have been doing really well. Our hats just went up. The first batch of hats. We got another design of hats coming soon, too. So that's all coming. And hit 3mipodcast.com to get that, but also figure out how to follow us elsewhere and all those things. And another thank you to our friend Gary Hennessy, who dropped off some nice mugs from the town of Grand Falls, Windsor, along with a couple hats.
Thank you, Gary. I had a beer out of that this evening.
Yes, he did. So did I. We all did. It was nice. But thank you guys so much. And of course, thanks for listening. Thank you to Terran for coming on the show. And we will be back next week with some content from Hockey Heroes Weekend to shout at you about hockey, because that's kind of what we do here. Until then, this has been 3 of my podcast.
Why do you hang around with the worst crowd, the worst crowd, the worst crowd?